Hey guys, let's get more news from Steelers, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Has Mike Tomlin lost the locker room? And how can we tell? It's a topic I've never had to consider before. For all of Mike Tomlin's flaws and warts, the best thing you could say about his tenure as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach was that he never lost the locker room. Never. And that is a monumental thing. Sure, there were distractions. Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, the latter much more an issue than the former. But that's not losing the locker room. That's losing one guy, a literal locker, and Tomlin generally handled those things as well as any coach could. But now, the conversation is front and center. And, I'll admit, this is a tough subject to discuss. It's even more speculation and educated guessing than we usually do, trying to take a look inside the Steelers' locker room from an outsider view. I'll completely confess to that. But right now, it's unavoidable. It might be the Steelers' biggest problem, and no doubt, they have a bunch of them. Just from what's on the surface, the locker room doesn't seem to be in a good place. Some of that is expected following back-to-back losses to 2-10 teams, but it's not just an issue of the Steelers failing to execute. All you have to do is hear from leadership. FS Minkah Fitzpatrick called out the locker room in the strongest terms, essentially saying players aren't taking their job seriously enough and just going through the motions, assuming they'll win. Weeks ago, RB Najee Harris had to bite his tongue to hold back his thoughts on the team's problems. Some of that may have been coaching-related. His words came just prior to Matt Canada's firing, but it was clear the locker room was fracturing to that point. Removing Canada might have been a band-aid, but these losses to the Cardinals and Patriots ripped that off. In fairness, some of the problems are noise. Young, talented receivers showing frustration like George Pickens? They all do that. Sideline arguments? Happens to every team, good or bad, throughout the course of a season. Losses just magnify things. But the Steelers' issues seem beyond that. Frustration is also natural after a loss, but you wonder if this group is buying into Tomlin's message. For as clear as he put the stakes of Thursday's game against New England, it doesn't seem like they are. Pittsburgh's isn't lacking talent. This isn't the 2019 bunch ravaged by injuries. They're playing below their capabilities with sloppy play and self-inflicted errors, even when everything is on the line. Despite losing to Arizona, they somehow came out even flatter versus the Patriots, digging themselves a 21-3 hole before trying to rally late. What a damning sign. If there's a coach able to rally things, it might be Tomlin. But 2023 is looking like his greatest test. The one thing you can't do as a coach is lose that room. Lose a game? That can be corrected. Lose the guys who take the field? There's no coming back. Pittsburgh needs to show life, fight, and a change in mentality that, of course, improves the results, to show Tomlin still has this group together. Or else it'll be the biggest knock against him heading into what's shaping up to be a long offseason. Diontae Johnson, Steelers have to figure something out getting playmakers the ball on weighty downs. It wasn't so long ago that the Pittsburgh Steelers were sitting at 6-3, winners of 4 out of their last 5 games. Since then, they have dropped 3 out of 4, now toying with a .500 record and possibly their first losing season since before many students at the University of Pittsburgh were even born. While the defense did not do its part the last time out, allowing 3 first-half touchdowns, it's no secret that the offense has been the bigger problem all along. Everyone seems to have different ideas as to what is going wrong in a situation in which any number of suggestions is likely to be valid, including Diontae Johnson's. It's not an entirely unexpected point of view from a wide receiver. If you don't have it in your mind while playing that position that you can be the one to make the key play, then you're going to have more than a bit of a hard time succeeding. Of course, it was Johnson who was targeted on the pivotal play, a deep pass on 4th and 2. To his credit, he had actually beaten his man, and perhaps a better ball from QB Mitch Trubisky might have actually resulted in a huge connection. I am not saying they aren't trying to, but on those weighty downs, he said, you have to try to figure something out. The Steelers are, to borrow a term from Jim Rome, triple ass on weighty downs this year, and have only gotten worse over time. They are just 62 for 178 converting on third down this year, which is somewhat surprisingly 25th in the league. They also rank 31st now on fourth down, converting just 5 of 13 opportunities. Add on top of that the fourth worst red zone offense in the NFL, and it's easy to see why you're looking at a bottom 5 scoring offense. The Steelers are averaging only 16.2 points per game through 13 games. They have gone 4 weeks without hitting 20, and the only time they hit 25 or more was a game in which they had 2 defensive touchdowns. Let's just put it out there. We got all excited about a 16-point game a couple weeks ago because the offense finally managed to put up some yards. The Steelers were still susceptible to all of their other fatal shortcomings, yet because for once it looked as though they could occasionally move the ball like a functional offense, we were sure change was coming. Yet they are 3-4-10 in the red zone in recent weeks. Cracking the 20 with regularity in no way ensures a respectable final score for the Steelers team. And that goes beyond an inability to get its key players the ball in the weighty moments. Steelers blasted for hiding T.J. Watt's concussion. The Pittsburgh Steelers took some heat for outside linebacker T.J. Watt being diagnosed with a concussion days after the team's loss to the New England Patriots. Watt was reportedly placed in concussion protocol the day after the team's game after arriving at the facility and reporting symptoms. Once the news broke, NFL analyst Warren Sharp compared the situation to the Miami Dolphins last season with Tua Tagovailoa and blasted Pittsburgh for not checking Watt's symptoms sooner and ignoring them once they did. Watt was hit with a knee during the opening drive of the game by Patriots running back Ezekiel Elliott. He came off to the sideline, where trainers briefly checked his mouth and jaw. Later in the game, he went into the medical tent with the NFL's concussion observer but was never diagnosed. Sharp even pointed out that the Steelers provided Watt with a dark visor during the game. He typically warms up with the same visor on. Watt and running mate Alex Highsmith are currently in concussion protocol heading into Week 15. They'll need to clear protocol before this week's game. Otherwise, Pittsburgh will start Marcus Golden and rookie Nick Herbig at outside linebacker. And you fan, what do you think of the T.J. Watt situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.